Buenas tardes, señor Mckellen. Enhorabuena por el premio y bienvenido a San Sebastián. Aquí. Sí, le quería preguntar, ¿cuál especial cariño a alguno de los personajes que ha interpretado y por qué, si es así? Luego tengo otra pregunta.
I usually say that my favourite character is the character that I'm currently playing, because I don't want the other characters to get jealous. But the truth is I'm not working at the moment, so I'd have to say my favourite character is me. All I've done in my life is to try and act as well as possible, and to improve as an actor. And what is rather very gratifying about Premio Donostia is that it is not for one performance, but it is for a career. And I don't feel my career is over, and that my contribution will be nothing more than hard work. But actors, you know, I think are very low down on the list of what is important in the making of a film. It begins with the script, and then the director, of course, and all the people that the director gathers around. And I'm just one of those people. I don't. I think the idea of a star is something that is a little bit alien to me. So my contribution, I don't know, if the director has been happy, I'm happy. If the critics are happy, I'm extra happy. But if the audience is happy, then I'm extremely happy. Well, of course, Gandalf is the most wonderful character. Whether the same can be said about Alec Guinness's character in Star Wars, I don't know. But he's a classic of English literature, and now a classic of international movies, and to be associated with him is perfectly fine with me. I'm very lucky that I'm most associated with a good man, a wizard, albeit, who tried to do his best, who was kind to people, aggressive only when it was necessary, but determined and brave. Now, he makes a wonderful role model for us all, and I'd much rather, I have no problems about being connected permanently with that sort of person, and it's much better than being connected with a part you play which is simply violent or unpleasant. So I've no worries about that. No, there are people in the United Kingdom who, when I appeared in the long-running soap opera Coronation Street, now think that I'm most famous for that. So it depends who you're talking to, what they connect me with. But I'm a big fan of Gandalf. It's a simple question, but it perhaps needs a complicated answer. There are many sorts of actor, but basically there are two sorts. One who is so confident in himself that all he needs to do and all he wants to do is to just be himself. It may be an exaggerated version, but those actors spend a lifetime playing themselves or a side of themselves. And we're very happy about that. We don't want them to be different. No one wants Cary Grant in disguise, or Humphrey Bogart any different from what he always is, or Hugh Grant. We want these people to be always the same. That's why we treasure them. And then there are other actors, perhaps not more modest, but more shy, as I was as a young man, who become actors not so much to display themselves as to disguise themselves and even to hide. And an odd job, you might think, for a shy person, an actor, but that's the motivation behind it. And I have always liked being different. I've always liked taking on different disguises. I wouldn't say my method, my approach to acting is better than somebody who is basically themselves. But that's what I like to do. And so if a part comes along which I detect is similar to a part that I've already played, I don't want to do it. I'm always looking for something different. Well, actors get far too much attention. I mean, for what we do, in the scheme of things, we get far too much praise and prizes and gifts, and it can be at times embarrassing. But then you just have to remember that most of the time, if attention is being given to an actor, it's because the PR machine and the marketing experts have asked the actor to appear in public and talk about themselves. It doesn't come very easily to us, necessarily. I think the reason perhaps that actors are often and universally, if not admired, watched with pleasure is because acting is at the very heart of what it is to be a human being. Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players, and we spend our whole lives acting. And it's true. We're always changing. Human beings are capable of all sorts of variations of behaviour. And we even put on costumes to emphasise that side of our nature which we want to be on display. For instance, in the morning you get up and you speak to your family and you use a particular sort of language to them, and you put on the costume of the work that you are going to, and then when you get to work you speak in quite a different way often, different sort of language, without even thinking about it. And if you're going out in the evening, you probably take the second costume with you and you change into it before you go off to the event. And a dog, you know, is always a dog. That's why dogs are so funny. You put them in any situation, they're always themselves. They can't disguise themselves. Human beings can disguise themselves in a way that no other animal on the planet does. So is it surprising then that we as human beings should be interested in those people who disguise themselves and keep changing their personalities as a profession? I think that may be one of the interests that lies in actors. Of course, there are other sorts of actors who are popular simply because of their good looks or their sexual attractiveness. That's not, I think, true in my case. And you know, I do think acting is an honourable business. It's about something which is very deep in human nature. And then, of course, the business of storytelling, which is so essential to us. It's the first thing that most of us can remember, isn't it? Being told a story by our parents, if we're lucky, or beginning to read stories at school and later on our own, and then watching stories on television and seeing stories on stage or on the screen. We need it from the people who tell stories in the marketplace in medieval times, going back to Homer, which was never written down. Homer's verses and stories were never written down. They were always spoken out loud. Who by? Well, by actors, presumably. And I'll start to repeat myself now, but I think that's why acting is admired by some people, and why, for me, it seems to be a very good way of spending my time.